Okay, can you see how this dysfunctional system creates roles to sustain the system? Now, I want you to do some reflection. And your kids are each falling into some roles. Can you be real honest and give some thought to this for a little while? Now, let's pursue this. Who's got some kids with some roles?
Unless I'm unusual, I think everybody was raised in a dysfunctional family. When we find out that we're addicted to things, there's probably 2 or 3 things that I can think of that have helped me stuff some of the things down that I stuff. When do you find out that it's an addiction or if it's just a way to get by?
Okay. Well, some people say that an addiction is present when the ability to choose is being lost. So an addiction is that which we do to alleviate our anxiety in the framework that I'm talking about. In other words, an addiction is a mind-altering situation or drug or something that takes my mind off my pain. Now, for instance, raging. If I've got a lot of stuff I need to work on, and as long as I can rage and blame out here and externalize this thing and look all about out here, I don't have to deal with my dysfunctional marriage. I don't have to deal with my pain. And so I deliberately am obsessively, compulsively acting out in order not to have to focus on and deal with the issues inside of me. So can you see how I can get lost in my work doing that?
Well, see, the way I see it is anything I do, I'm doing for that then.
No, we're talking about obsessive, okay, and compulsive. Obsessive is almost an inability to control your thinking. You're thinking about it all the time. You're thinking about it. You're obsessing on it. And compulsive means that you react and you act to this situation over and over again in a way that's very, very difficult for you to control. So obsessive compulsive behavior is really very simple. If I have pain and I'm in pain and I can take a pill and kill that pain, and I take a pill and I kill that pain, and I take another pill and I kill that pain, every time I have that, this becomes a habitual behavior.
But see, if I've got 5 different things that will kill that pain, and I just use them randomly, for instance, the church, sports.
Keep yourself occupied somewhere else.
Yeah, anything that keeps my attention.
Yes. Is that mood altering?
Sure.
Yes. Well, don't think that you need to be limited to one addiction. Can I be a workaholic, a churchaholic, a sexaholic? You bet I can, or I can really go for it. Like I say, if you're going to have an addiction, get a good one. Get something you can afford.
I don't ever see this changing.
It does. Now, how you do that is you start to come out of denial. And we'll talk about that in the mourning process. The very, very first issue here is denial. What is denial? Denial is just really non-awareness. Denial isn't saying necessarily, no, I don't have a problem. Denial is really unawareness. We have what we call the mourning process, to grieve, the grieving process. Now, I wanted deeply, and naturally, instinctively, a father-son relationship. I didn't get it. He was absent. Now, when I started to realize, and I went into therapy, and I started to realize that I was grieving over this, that I was angry about it, and I started to get in touch with my feelings for the first time with this issue, I got really angry. So denial is the first step in starting to mourn. Now, this is what you're doing coming out of this. This is an answer to your question. Are we stuck there forever? No, we're not stuck there forever. The grieving process, the mourning process, is the process of healing. It's the process of getting past. And I'll describe this issue for you in my own case, and you can apply it. All right. First of all, I was in what they call denial. I did not realize that I was mourning and I was upset about the problem with my father not having a relationship. I didn't realize that. But as we started to talk about it in therapy and trying to get behind my compulsive workaholism, churchaholic or workaholic, so it can be the same. They started asking me about my relationships. And as I started to talk, I was getting angry at my father. And I was recalling conversation after conversation we had when we would argue. And you could not reason with him. Looking back, I want you to understand that my father, is an 80-year-old, 5-year-old child. That he thinks and acts and talks like a 5-year-old child. He's emotionally a 5-year-old child. You cannot reason with him. He makes up his mind and then arranges the facts in the world to make it come out the way he said. And as a 10-year-old even, I was getting through that logically. That's crazy making. I used to sit down and scratch my head while I told him that yesterday. And we turned it around. One time we had an argument about the moon. We had an argument that went on for like a month. If he always had to be right, then I always had to be what? And a dysfunctional person always has to be right. They're into perfection. They've always got to be right. I don't care how damaging it is to the kid, they've got to be right because they have these narcissistic needs that were never met. They needed to be loved. Were they loved? Now then, when you're in denial, you are just not aware of the craziness. Now I am aware. And when you become aware, you have a choice. You can say, I can stop it. I don't have to be like that anymore.